Welcome to the DL. This is the show where we talk about everything in the truck and equipment repair industry. It's my job to help inform and educate you on ways to help your business. We talk with technicians, business owners, associations, industry experts, manufacturers, and even a few you wouldn't think traditionally apply to your business. Welcome everyone to another episode of the DL. I am your host, Tyler Robertson, also the CEO and founder of Diesel Laptops. Thank you for taking the time to listen today or watch us if you're on YouTube. And today is going to be an interesting one. So I've grown my company. I've been doing this about 6 years now. And today I have someone with me who has been there almost since the start. Mm-hmm. And today is really her last day, essentially. So with all that said, I'd like to welcome Leah to the show, our soon-to-be ex-marketing manager.
Thank you.
So we finally get you like in front of the camera, not behind the camera, right? After all these webinars, podcasts. I mean, you look back on it, you've created a lot of content over the last, well, how long has it been here since you started?
So I started in September of 2017.
Okay.
So 4 years.
What building were we in then?
So we were in the Lexington building. I refer to it as, I guess, building number 2.
Okay, yep.
So the one over there by Luce's.
So we must have had about 20-ish employees,
so
give or take?
I think about employee number 23.
23.
Yep.
What did I even hire you for at first? Like, what was it?
So I actually knew someone that worked for you,
yeah.
And she came to me and said, I think that Tyler's looking for a marketing person. You should really, come meet with him. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I have small kids. Like, I don't know if this is the time for me, but I did end up meeting with you, and you were like, I need a marketing person, but I think it's a part-time job. And so I said, okay, I can work 20 hours a week, 10 of those in the office, 10 of those from home. And you were like, fine, let's do it. And so you just basically, at that point, it was just, handling some trade shows, handling some marketing email blasts, and kind of getting some more niched campaigns. I remember we started with mining.
Yeah. I don't remember how did you even get to go full time? Was it even a conversation or just
no,
10 turned to 20, turned to 30, turned to...
It did. Yeah. And then, when my youngest daughter went to kindergarten.
That's right. I remember that. Yep.
I had the day free. So I just went full time.
So back then, a lot of our strategy at that point was internet advertising and trade shows. So do you remember the first trade show you did for us? And had you ever done a trade show before on the you said earlier you attended one.
I used to attend trade shows at my prior job, but I had never been on the logistics end of it, which is a whole new ballgame.
Yeah.
And the first trade show that I ever did was TMC, which is in Atlanta, which is one of the biggest ones that we attend. And it was a lot. It was me and Carlton. I don't know if you remember.
I remember Carlton, video guy,
We loaded up the Diesel Laptops truck, the back of it, and we took ourselves down to Atlanta and set it up. So that was the first one.
That must have been we were probably in a small booth.
We were in a 10 by 20.
So that was our second year then.
Yep,
so our first year was a small little back corner at TMC.
So this was, we thought we were big time. And we were 10 by 20. So, but yeah, that one, and then I went to Matt's that same year.
And I think last year was COVID, right? So that first year we probably did a handful of trade shows. What was at our peak? Do you remember how many trade shows we did pre-COVID?
I'd say probably between 20 and 25 in a year.
I mean, that's like one every other week, essentially.
And they weren't all big, but they were all, it's funny, big or small, they all kind of entail the same logistics. Not as much, they're setting stuff up, but, on the front end, it's a process. So
the story I've told here a couple times, through various areas, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, is, we were spending a lot of money at trade shows. I don't remember what it was. 300, 400, 500. It was something ridiculous, right?
It was a lot.
And we thought we had to do it, right? Because everybody did it. And then COVID happened, and we paused it all. And we had our best revenue year ever. So we really haven't talked about this. What do you think we should do at Diesel? Do we go back to spending that much money at the trade shows, or do we take a step back? Or what advice do you have as an outgoing person here?
I don't know. I mean, I honestly think that some of the smaller shows, I think almost like instead of us like having a booth there, I think it might be just more advantageous just to have someone there walking the show, having conversations, attending, VIP events and things like that to have the conversations. I think TMC and Matt's, I think we've talked about this before. I don't know that we need to go as big as we've gone, But it's almost, what's worse, you spending all that money or a lack of presence there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's more of a branding thing, in
So-
my opinion. But we went down the road of having more of the tailored events while we're there, and
Yeah.
I think that's more the way.
So let's just, I don't think people understand how much money it costs to go to one of these shows. So if you had to add up everything, employees, the logistics, the booth, everything you do, what does a small show on average cost? And what do you think the most we ever spent in one event would be?
So a smaller show, I would say you're not going to get out of there from $5,000 to $7,000. By the time you rent your space, all put up
Hotel,
your booth,
travel,
food
yep.
for everyone,
Yep.
at least 5 to 7. Then you're talking marine; those are more expensive. But then you get into the TMCs, and kind of at our peak, I'd say our last year at TMC we probably spent $50,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is $25,000 just for the booth, just for the real estate.
Yeah.
So easy VIP events, and we had a robot. I mean,
Yeah, we did have a robot out there.
We had a dancing robot. So.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. So you mentioned the events. I think that was great. So like we did TMC, and then we said, hey, off-site we're gonna do axe throwing. And you invite in, free food,
Right.
free food, free booze, and we throw axes.
Right.
Perfect combination. But it was great to be able to
Yep.
get people outside that environment. And you spent quality time getting to know some potential people or building relationships more with people that you already have, which was
Right.
I think a great thing. And I think your travels actually got you outside the U.S. a little bit too. Did they not?
It did. So Tim and I went to METS, which is like the biggest marine show in the world, and that was actually in Amsterdam. So we flew over to Amsterdam and spent about 5 days there, and we did that show. And then actually Mario from Texa invited us out to Italy, to Texa, to their headquarters. So then we actually flew from Amsterdam into Italy and got to tour that. We went to Venice. I mean, so it was really great. We had it was very eye-opening to.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I mean, I still haven't been over to,
I know.
Kajali's invited me to Spain, Texas invited me to Italy. There's someone in the UK that we're making great friends with over there. I need to make a European trip one of these days and
I'll
see
tell
the
you,
world.
Texa blew me away.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, no, they're top quality, everything they do over there. So, one of the interesting things for me, as my business has been growing up here, and this actually happened at TMC like 2 years ago, I guess now. So I'm at TMC and I'm talking to someone that's kind of in the industry. He was in the diagnostic space, now he's working somewhere else. But he comes up to me and we're just talking. He goes, yeah, I was just talking to some people, and they're like, man, how in the hell did diesel laptops grow so fast? They're still like, it's the products, it's this, it's that, And then he goes, Tyler, I just cut him off. I just said, you know what it is, guys, is they just kick ass at marketing. And they're wiping everybody up with it. And it's funny because I'm behind the scenes over here. And, I'm never satisfied with what we do. And
Right.
I think maybe that's been part of it, is we've always not been afraid to say, let's go do this a little bit different way. And one of those is online marketing.
Right.
So I don't think it's any big secret to tell people, but one of our best sources of sales leads is actually Facebook.
For sure.
Right? And I don't see anybody still in our space that's even trying to do that. Have you ran across anything or
No.
seen anything there? No.
I mean, all I get is our ads.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people in our industry are afraid of online pay-per-click advertising. And I know we've made some mistakes in advertising on there. Yeah. There's some pitfalls to it. So do you remember when we did the Google ad? We were doing shopping ads.
Yes.
And I ran like we somehow had a motorcycle tool or something. We ended up running up like $40,000 in ads.
We were, because the reports that we were getting just showed like a number, like a line item, and
the big picture number.
The big picture number, and we didn't really. And then we, I guess, dug into it. And we're like, oh, holy cow, that's on motorcycles. So yeah, I mean, you definitely have to. I think it's one of those things that you definitely have to keep an eye on every day, what you're spending and the return that you're getting from that.
And I think we went through the whole let's learn about this a little bit. At first it was like throw a little money at it, like, oh, the phone's ringing. We're getting emails from people interested. And then we just started throwing a stupid amount of money at it at one point. I think it was almost $100,000 a month that we were throwing on it. And at that time, did we even know like what our cost per lead or how much, like we spent 100, what did we generate?
So no, because we have kind of how our ads work, they can either fill out a form or call. So that was a problem for us to kind of track that into sales. And no, it wasn't until COVID, remember when we cut our spending, and then we kind of came back with a lower amount, that we said, okay, let's look at this and let's take a 90-day period. And you know, we did find that our return was great. But I think before, no, I mean, like you said, the phone was ringing, sales were great. We just kind of let it go and just continue.
Yeah, it's almost like that machine. Like once you start giving it money, it's hard to like stop, because
back.
you're like, wait, the phone. What if the phone stopped ringing?
I
But
know.
I remember one time like our credit card stopped working or something, so all our ads stopped. And I remember thinking, oh my God, no one's gonna call or email, and we're gonna have any sales. And then we all kind of woke up the next morning like, we still had phone calls and leads coming in.
And I think, you know, and I think that goes back to then, you know, we've been doing the ads, but we've also been creating the content and getting out there and making a name for ourselves. And so, you know, I think it all goes hand in hand.
I think you're absolutely right. We didn't really pay attention to the fact that most people weren't Googling like diagnostic tool. They were Googling diesel laptops.
Right.
So I guess, you know, you look back at it, we probably did have to go do the trade shows and spend all that money. But now like one of the most competitive keywords we're bidding on is actually diesel laptops, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And everyone else is trying to use our name to
get to the top.
Yeah. So it's funny how things flip over like that as well. So as we were growing here, who was the first? I don't even remember. You mentioned the name earlier. Like, what were the first couple marketing positions that we said, hey, we need to fill? Because you're part-time, rolling into full-time.
So
where did we go?
So we went with Josh. So
Okay. Josh
Josh was already here actually when I started. I don't actually know what his position actually was. But we kind of brought him on for like as officially part of the marketing department as like graphics and web.
Yeah.
So he started there, and you know, he would just you know, update the website listings, give me some graphics for, you know, the content that we were doing. And then we quickly learned that, you know, and I think our next one was a videographer, because we realized that the power of video content was starting to get big. So we hired a videographer.
Yeah, and even now, you know, with you leaving and everything, I'm always trying to look for that next thing, right? Because eventually, and we already have it today, some people are trying to copy our business model. You know, we offered 30-day money-back guarantee. All of a sudden, everybody else is 30-day money-back guarantee. We start doing these things, podcasts, like someone, you know, they're like, oh, we'll do podcast. You know, so I get it, and I think for us, it's always like, okay, how do we just turn it up another notch and another notch and another notch? And that's why I don't get too worried about talking about things in public, because I'm like, well, that was yesterday. And we got things going on for the future. But if, you know, so I think we all learned a lot. If you could look back, was there how far do you feel like you've learned about marketing in the last couple of years?
A lot, you know, and really it's just from, I mean, you think about how, I mean, I won't say my age now, but think about when, you know, I went to school for marketing and just how it has changed. My first job out of college was a marketing job, and it was vastly different there than here. And even to where we are today, it's completely different, the things that we're doing from what we were doing when I started. Digital, you know, it's just, everything has just evolved and gone in a different direction, and it continues to do that. It's, you know, that's one thing I'll say about marketing. You have to keep up and be in the, you know, what's the next thing. And
yeah, and I think people a lot of times get caught up in the wrong things, right? So at the end of the day, I keep, you know, every time I talk marketing with people, I'm like, look, their job is just get your name out there and drive traffic.
Right.
And sometimes those are two different things. There's the whole, like, we're just going to sponsor something so our name's in front of people. Then there's the whole, oh no, we're gonna go throw videos and ads in front of you and throw you on a squeeze page, and we're gonna get you to contact us
like that.
one or the yeah. But it's really amazing. I mean, I don't even know the number. I don't know if you know the number off the top of your head. You know, in an average month, like how many leads the marketing department generates for our sales team?
So right now, and this is just like paid, like Google and Facebook. Right now, we're generating about 400 to 500 a month. Pre-COVID, you were talking 1,500.
Yeah.
At least a month.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even include, you know, other things that we're doing, webinars, trade shows, you know, all of those leads.
And I think people need to understand too, not all leads are created equal.
Right.
Right? Because she just said we were generating 3 times as many leads last year, but our sales also went up almost 30% last year as well. So there's a difference between just driving traffic. Anyone can drive traffic. Generating high quality traffic gets to be a little more difficult. And I know we talked about one of the new roles I'm opening up here is that internet marketing specialist. It's like, look, we're doing great. We need to fire out the next thing. We got some great strategies. I'm excited to see if those work out or not. Hopefully they work out. If they don't, I guess we'll try something else, right? Maybe we're calling you back.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not all created equally. And I mean, you know, we did reduce our spend, so we reduced the number of leads, but we also dialed in that message when they hit that landing page. You know, so the quality of the leads, I think, are much better.
Yep. All right, so you're leaving not because you're totally unhappy with us, right? You wouldn't be doing this podcast with me if that was the case. But you kind of the next chapter of your life starting here. So do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what's going on there?
Yeah, so I am leaving to go help my husband in sort of our family business. So he, his background a little bit, he was worked for Oracle for a number of years and was in their healthcare sector. And, you know, he just kind of like you, you know, he just kind of wanted to, you know, take control of his own destiny. And so he started independent insurance agency about 3 years ago full time. So,
let's talk about that for 1 second.
Okay.
So 3 years ago, like you have young kids. How old are they at this time?
So 3 years ago, they were 5 and 7.
5 and 7. And your husband has a good paying job at a Fortune 500 company. He's quitting. You're part-time working for Diesel Laptops, and he's like, we're gonna do this. Yeah.
So he's like, just trust me, we're gonna do this. So I said, okay. And it helped. I did come on here full time once, you know, my kids got a little older. So so he branched out on his own, and you know, he's just at a place that he's growing. You know, so he's the sales guy, he's the admin guy, he's the marketing guy, he's all the things. And able for him to grow and make more money and be more successful, he has to have some help to do sort of those admin and marketing things. So I'm going to go help him and grow it.
I want to say when I was growing my company, that was the toughest thing, was bringing on essentially another employee, another mouth to feed, however you want to think about it. Because it's a scary thing, right? Because like the guaranteed paychecks are gone for you guys now, essentially.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, you know, we're going to take a dip. Now I have to pay someone else, you know? So yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal is to, you know, grow it quickly, with him being able to devote 100% to sales, you know, to make up my salary quickly, is the plan. So, but yeah, so we're excited.
Yeah, so 2 young kids, and you start yet another chapter. But it honestly sounds very familiar, not only to what I went through, and I think what most entrepreneurs and business owners go through. I even look at a lot of the territory managers we have. So if people are listening to this, they may not realize a lot of our territory managers aren't employees, they're 1099 contractors. And we encourage them to build their own business. One of our 1099 contractors was just him to start with. Now he's got a bunch of employees working for him. David Martin does a great job for us. But essentially, it's tough though making that first leap. So I give you guys a lot of credit.
Well, the first leap is me. And then, you know, ultimately, you know, we'll begin to hire personal, commercial, you know, the different lines of business that he does. And have the manpower to write those deals and things like that. So that's the ultimate goal, and we're excited.
So just curious, I mean, insurance is a different business than diagnostics, right? It is and it isn't. You're still selling a product to somebody, right? And your job then, the marketing side, is to go get in front of them. Do you think you'll do any of the traditional stuff that people may think of when they think marketing, like radio ads or, you know, flyers?
So he's doing some of that now, flyers, and we probably won't go radio ads. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to never say never. But not a whole lot. I mean, honestly, I look at it. I mean, we're not going to start a podcast. I mean, maybe, but I think a lot of the things that we do here will carry over to there. Obviously, online ads, Facebook is really big, video content.
Is he doing that stuff now?
So no, I mean, that's our first, we've already kind of written the script, but that's our first order of business, like a video that we can throw out on Facebook and you know, get the leads there. So he's doing some, it's just very limited because he doesn't have the time. Yeah.
No, it's tough wearing a lot of hats, like you said. You're doing all those things, and you just only have so many hours in the day before you run out of time to do stuff.
And in I mean, it's much like here. You know, you're juggling referral partners to personal referrals to then commercial business. So it's a lot to juggle in a lot of different niches and avenues. So.
So one of the things that I think we all went through while we were doing this thing was trying to find some tools and resources to help us in how to structure things. I think a lot of people look at marketing as this weird little thing over there and kind of a magical box, right? Just give me leads is what you want them to do. And then we found kind of StoryBrand with Donald Miller. Do you just want to talk a little bit about your experience with reading the book? I know you went to some of the classes.
So yeah, I read the book, and then I actually went to Nashville. You sent me there for 3 or 4 days. I actually went to his workshop live, which was great. And they actually help you kind of sit down and StoryBrand your website, which is kind of the first order of business. And StoryBrand is really about really taking the spotlight off of diesel laptops and more kind of making a character out of your customer and what are their pain points, really agitating that, and then saying, okay, well, this is how diesel laptops can guide you, and make sort of the customer the hero and us the guide, other than saying, oh, look at us, we're so great, diesel laptops.
So Donald articulated it way better than I ever have, but and he is absolutely 100% right. I read so many ads and see so many marketing things. They talk about the features, they talk about the benefits, and every time I look at one, I'm like, nobody cares. Right? And people don't understand. They're like, what do you mean they don't care? They don't care that it's this and that. I'm like, no. They care that it solves their problem. That's what they care about. That's what your marketing needs to be on. I was at a trade show and I was sitting at lunch with one of the guys, and we were just talking about something similar. I'm like, what do you guys do? And he's like, oh, we built suspensions for trailers. I'm like, oh. He's like, well, like for what segments, right? There's small trailers, big trailers. He's like, oh, really? Like horse trailers are our big thing. I'm like, oh. And we started talking to him, and he explained this to me. I'm like, so really, you guys basically, he basically said, look, horses, they injure their legs, right? Their roads and all that stuff, and their suspension helps alleviate that. I'm like, so these are basically saving horses' lives, right? He's like, yeah, I guess we are. I'm like, that's what you need to say. Not we have the smoothest ride. Like nobody cares. They want to solve their problem or avoid their potential problem. So I think StoryBrand does a really great job of just explaining all that out and giving some framework.
It really does. It gives you easy framework for, and they start you with your website, but then you can really take that into like all aspects of your business. So any email that you send out, any ad that you do, it should all be under that StoryBrand framework for sure. Which is definitely, I think, really something that I'll take with me and use for forever.
It really applies to any industry. I don't care what it is. And we actually made all the marketing people read that book as well. I know Shauna's new here. She hasn't probably been forced to read it yet, but we're gonna make
now
her.
There's two.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then we not only had our marketing people read it, but other people in our company read it as well. Do you want to kind of explain why we did that?
So I guess we'll call them, product managers and others. So like Dustin, our training manager, and other people that are kind of over off highway and marine at the time and stuff like that. And so, but we work really closely with them. And marketing is marketing, but we're not diesel techs, and we don't know. So having them kind of read it and us being able to sit down with them. So we kind of formed these small little focus groups with marketing and them, and we would sit down and they would help us sort of outline that character, what their problems were, but they got to see kind of what our goal was in trying to to put out the ultimate message. So
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we've been one of the fastest growing companies in South Carolina for a number of years. Even in the United States, we were top 500 there one particular year.
422.
Yeah. I mean, it gets difficult to keep doubling your revenue when your revenue is in the the level we're at now. But I think we have a lot of great products and services, and that growth is obviously still continuing here at Diesel Laptops and anything. So through that whole time, if you had to go back and not do something again or do something differently on the marketing side, I know I hate to throw a random question out there like that. I mean, I know we made a lot of mistakes out there. I know we learned a lot. Anything you'd kind of look at now and say, man, I wish we'd done that differently or better, or was it just all
I don't think so, because I mean, I honestly think that everything that we did was a learning experience, and I mean, even, the motorcycle glitch or the, whatever, it was everything we learned from, and it wasn't easy, and it was hard to stomach when, we would make mistakes and do things, but we learned from it, and, the next time we would just get better at it, and do it. So I wouldn't say do anything differently. I I think everything, kind of got us to where we are now, so.
People ask me the same thing about diesel laptops all the time. Like, what would you change? What would you do differently? I mean, we've had people steal from us. We've lost money. We've had hackers. We've had all this stuff that's happened. But at the end of the day, it's, well, we learned and we're not going to do that again, and we're going to be a little bit better and a little bit stronger. So exactly the same way I would answer it and everything. So. I have a sneaking suspicion you and your husband are going to be uber successful at this whole thing you have going on. I'm guessing he's gonna be trying to call Vanessa here pretty soon to sell some commercial insurance probably, right? So some people at Diesel Laptops at least get the name in the door and everything. But I just want to say I really appreciate your time here at Diesel Laptops. It's a lot of craziness has happened in the last couple of years. I never thought my company would get here. You've been a huge part of it.
Thank you.
I know people oftentimes don't like coming on camera like this, so I really thank you doing that, especially on your last day, right? Because you could have been like, no, I'm out of here. So it's been great having you here as part of the company. You definitely left a lasting impression here with everyone. So honestly, thank you very much for all the time served and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and thank you. Like I said, I'll definitely take what I learned here, and I appreciate the opportunity. From part-time to kind of, I always tell people I started part-time, and, we ended up a department of 8. So nobody expected it. Nobody really knew what they were doing. But I appreciate the opportunity and to grow, and, I'll take it forward. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. And I always end it by saying, it's not just diagnostics done right, but that diagnostics done right, that actually came from the marketing department, right? So people don't realize there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, trying to string this all together. Great department you put together. You left a lasting legacy here. So again, with all that said, this was Leah, very last day at Diesel Laptops. Thank you again. For everybody else, thank you for watching and listening. A lot more new stuff coming down the pipeline. Appreciate your time for everything. And as we end every episode, it's not diagnostics. Diagnostics
done right.
Thank you very much.